You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I have to start with the Mets firing their two hitting coaches. Chili Davis and Tom Slater are out. Hugh Quattlebaum, the former minor league hitting coordinator, is the Mets' new hitting coach. And their farm director, Kevin Howard, is now their new assistant hitting coach. And I don't mind this move. A lot of the Mets' marquee hitters have struggled. James McCann is hitting .215. Jeff McNeil is hitting .235. Francisco Lindor, the $300 million man, is hitting .163. I know a lot of people who would hit .163 for a fraction of the price. Steve Cohen, if you're interested, hit me up. Dominic Smith is hitting .222. Michael Conforto is hitting .244. Yeah. The marquee guys for the Mets aren't hitting. Are there some Mets that are producing? Yeah. J.D. Davis is hitting .390. Brandon Nimmo's hitting .318. Pete Alonso's hitting .282 with 5 homers and 16 RBIs. It's nice to see him producing again. But there's no question that the Mets have struggled in terms of swinging the bat. I mean, I spoke about their series against the Red Sox. They only score 1 run in 2 games. Jacob deGrom is as close to perfect as you can get. He's beating himself up because he gave up 1 run. Oh my God, trade him now. Now I'll say this. In the Mets' last 3 games, they have started swinging the bat. They've scored at least 5 runs. In their last 3 games, I mean, that is something. But you got the sense that this was in the works for a while. Joel Sherman said as much. He said that the reason it happened now was because of COVID protocols. I can't sit here and tell you that Hugh Quattlebaum and Kevin Howard are going to elevate this offense to the next level. And Francisco Lindor will be the guy that we all thought he'd be. I mean, it's kind of interesting. What did I say after Lindor signed that big extension with the Mets? It was good to get it done now because you didn't want that distraction hanging over your head. You'd hear people on a daily basis saying, extend Lindor now, extend Lindor now. Sports Talk Radio would be talking about it every single day. At least that's what I thought. I mean, now, if Lindor didn't sign an extension, the conversation about him is probably how terrible of a trade that was. There'd be people saying that he just can't handle New York. You've got to fix Lindor. That's the biggest thing. If you're Quattlebaum or Howard. For God's sake, this guy isn't even hitting his weight. He weighs 190 pounds. He's hitting 163. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. I mean, let me tell you, if you're Lindor, you're going to start hearing a lot of boos at Citi Field. If you sign a big contract in this city and you don't produce, the fans are going to let you hear about it. Some people also said that this was due to Chili Davis and Tom Slater being more old school guys, and this is a new analytically inclined regime. That could be part of it. I mean, I'm not going to slam my fist on the table and say that the reason Chili Davis didn't work out with the Mets was because of his old school philosophy. That's ridiculous. I think what happened to him is symptomatic of what's happening all throughout Major League Baseball. Hitters just aren't producing as much this year. The batting average is down. The on-base percentage is down. It's a real issue all throughout Major League Baseball. The team that's leading Major League Baseball in batting average at this very moment is the Boston Red Sox. You know what their team batting average is? 261. To put that in perspective, in 2019, 261 wouldn't even get you in the top 5. Same thing last year. Major League teams have combined to hit 233. Think about that. 233. If you had a player hitting 233, you'd want him benched. Now, the reason that is happening, I think, is that these hitters are constantly swinging for the fences. Gone are the days of singles and doubles hitters. Everyone wants to hit a home run. If you don't hit a home run, you'll strike out. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get a walk, but that's what the game is turning into. Those 3 outcomes. No singles, no doubles, no moving runners over. It's a worse game today than it was just 5 or 10 years ago. Now, funnily enough, the Mets' team batting average is 240. So they're actually better than the league average in terms of batting average. Granted, in home runs and RBIs, they're at the bottom of the league. I'm not saying it's a bad decision to fire Chili Davis. It's not. Runs, too, they're at the bottom of the league. You've got to fire Davis and Slater. The Mets entered this season with sky-high expectations. I thought they were going to be a wild card team. Now they're 1 game under 500. They still can't hit for DeGrom. The superstars that they identified as being key contributors didn't work. Obviously, there's still time to turn it around. Are Quattlebaum and Howard the right guys to do it? I have no idea. I'll be honest with you. Until last night, I had never heard of them. If you had heard of them before last night, God bless you. But you've got to try something. I mean, this is how bad it's gotten for the Mets. There's this thing circulating around the Mets. They have an approach coach named Donnie Stevenson. Donnie Stevenson is not real. That person does not exist. If you believe that Donnie Stevenson is a real person, then you must have believed that Sid Finch was a real person. Yeah, the Mets found this guy that no one's ever heard of, and he's single-handedly going to change their team. This guy doesn't exist. It's a figment of Pete Alonso's imagination. I mean, I can't tell you how much time I spend trawling the internet looking for anything on a guy named Donnie Stevenson who works for the Mets. It's not real. The only thing I can think of is that it's Pete Alonso's alter ego. It's like Clark Kent or Bruce Wayne or Bruce Banner. Maybe it's J.D. Davis's alter ego. This guy isn't real. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. The Mets are so pathetic that they need to make up this person that is as real as a $3 bill. Say that he's the approach coach, whatever the hell an approach coach is. And he's the guy who's changing the Mets' hitting philosophy. It wasn't Chili Davis. It wasn't Tom Slater who was responsible for their last 3 games. No, it was Donnie Stevenson. It's literally the dumbest thing I have ever heard in all my years watching baseball. In fact, in watching sports, it may be the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. This isn't funny. This isn't let the kids have fun. This is in essence lying to people. They're making it seem like this guy is real. He doesn't exist. Look at the Mets media guy. There's no one there with that name. This isn't an outside hire. If it was, we'd have heard about it. What is this, some kind of joke? It's not funny. Your team's playing like garbage. You don't have a right to have fun. Have fun when you win. Don't have fun when you lose. So let me get this straight. Before Saturday, you had a hitters meeting. And that's when you conceived of this mythical figure. It's the single dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No, you know what? I actually just received confirmation. Donnie Stevenson is real. You remember about 20 years ago, someone came in with glasses, a fake nose, and a mustache, and we thought it was Bobby Valentine sneaking back into the Mets dugout after he was ejected? That was actually Donnie Stevenson. If you want to have a little inside joke, that's fine. But you've got to do that when you're winning. The Mets aren't winning. The Mets are a joke. They're under 500. They spend all this money on McCann and Lindor, and they're doing nothing. The best free agent acquisition that the Mets made was Trevor May. How effective can Trevor May be if he's the setup guy to a garbage closer in Edwin Diaz? The Mets need to get their act together quickly. If they're hovering around 500 by the All-Star break, you're going to hear a lot from upset Mets fans. And Donnie Stevenson won't be able to save them. Moving on now to the Rockies naming Bill Schmidt their interim GM. And I understand that this may not be the most earth-shattering of news at first glance, but it actually is important, and I'm going to tell you why. The Rockies are 10-18. When I last spoke about the Rockies, they were 8-14. Since then, they've gone on a little bit of a slide. 2-4 in their last 6. And it's pretty apparent that the Rockies aren't gearing up to make a run at this thing. They don't look at themselves as real contenders. I think it's ridiculous to make that assumption in early May. We talk about teams like the Marlins and Orioles being bad teams. The Marlins are only 2.5 games out in the NL East, and the Orioles are only 3 games out in the AL East. There is still time for craziness to happen, but no, the Rockies are content to have another losing season. Obviously, they had already fired Jeff Bridich. They have an interim GM in Schmidt, who used to be their vice president of scouting. I wish him luck. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. He has a little under 3 months to determine what the best path forward for the Rockies is. They've got some big free agents coming up. Trevor Story's a free agent. John Gray's a free agent. Michael Givens is a free agent. Charlie Blackmon can be a free agent. Those are 4 of their best players. So what are you going to do? Are you going to try to build around them? Or are you really going to blow this thing up and trade all 4 of them before July 30th? Yes, July 30th is the trade deadline this year. They moved it up a day because July 31st is a Saturday. So you've got to determine pretty quickly what you're going to do with these guys. If you're going to trade them, you've got to get a better package than what Bridich got for Arenado. But that brings up the question, do you want an interim GM making those franchise-altering decisions? Regardless of which way it goes, the Rockies' future will be determined by what happens in the next 3 months. If they bring some or all of those guys back, they better build a core around them that can win. If you keep them, but then you see them walk in free agency, congratulations, you lost them for nothing. If you trade them, fine. But you better get prospects that can be a part of your next really good team. And it brings up the question, do you want an interim GM making that decision? An interim GM can make smaller decisions, that's perfectly fine. Trading Story, Gray, Blackmon, and to a lesser extent Givens are franchise-altering decisions. You need to get that right. You got Arenado wrong. You need to get this right. And I will say this, I don't want to kill Bill Schmidt. Truthfully, I wouldn't know him if he came to my house and delivered me a pizza. I know he's been in baseball for a really long time. He actually used to be a coach within the Yankees organization. He's been with the Rockies for over 20 years. I get all that. But part of what's gotten the Rockies in this mess is promoting from within. they promoted Jeff Bridich from within. He was with the Rockies when Dan O'Dowd was there. Do you really want to promote from within when this organization is one of the worst organizations in baseball? It's nothing against the people who work there, but let's be honest. The Rockies have been garbage for a long time. The last time they made the NLCS and the World Series was 2007. The last playoff game they won was in 2018 when Tony Wolters had one of the most miraculous at-bats in recent baseball history. Promoting from within is fine if you're a good organization. You finish with winning records, you make the playoffs, you make some noise when you're there, then sure, promote from within. But if you're a terrible organization, get an outside perspective. That's just common sense. For that reason, you can't have Schmidt making these decisions. I mean, it's tough. You're mid-season. Are you going to conduct a full GM search mid-season? Let's say that GM search takes a month. So we're in early June. You're giving the new GM just under 2 months to line up trades for Story, Blackman, Gray, and Givens. That's tough. I get that, but it beats the alternative. It beats letting a guy who you have no idea if he's still going to be with the team in a year make these franchise-altering decisions. The Rockies are up a certain type of creek without a paddle. The highlight of their season is going to be when they get to host the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. That's it. Their fans don't have anything else to look forward to. I feel sorry for them. They're in for some really tough sledding in the near future, let me tell you. There was a game yesterday that I want to talk about, and that was Indians-Royals. Yesterday saw the debut of one of the best prospects in all of baseball, Daniel Lynch. I actually have a friend named Dan Lynch. It's obviously a different Dan Lynch, but he's a nice guy. Lives in California. Really, really good guy. This Dan Lynch is easily one of the 30 best prospects in all of Major League Baseball. Throws 4 pitches really well. His velocity is really good. It wasn't the greatest debut yesterday against the Indians. He didn't go 5 innings. He gave up 3 runs. He walked 4. He only gave up 4 hits. He struck out 3. It wasn't the worst debut ever, but it certainly wasn't the best. But Royals fans, I hope you saw enough to realize that this kid can be a big part of your future going forward. You take a look at the Royals minor league system. 4 of their top 5 prospects, according to Baseball America, are pitchers. The guy who isn't is Bobby Witt Jr., one of the best hitting prospects in all of baseball. But the Royals can have a rotation of Lynch, Asa Lacy, Jackson Cower, and Chris Bubich in the next 2 or 3 years. That's scary. That's a really scary rotation. I understand that Bubic hasn't set the world on fire, but he does have potential. And if you want to throw in a guy like Danny Duffy or Brady Singer, you can. Let me tell you, that Royals rotation has the potential to be the best rotation in baseball. Give Dayton Moore a ton of credit. One of the best GMs in baseball. And one other thing about Lynch, he's getting thrown into the fire right away. It's not like we're talking about the Rockies or Tigers here. No, the Royals are in the thick of it. They're actually leading the AL Central right now. They're a game up on the White Sox. Do I think that's going to stay throughout the season? No. But Lynch is going to play in some meaningful games. Baptism by fire. Let's see what he can do. You know what? I like it. And I do think he'll rise to the occasion. Lynch has a ton of potential. I picked him up for my fantasy baseball team. I'm excited to see what he could do going forward. The future of the Royals is incredibly bright. Alright, now I'll give you some NBA Valk talk. And this is gonna suck. Because I have to talk about 2 things pertaining to the NBA that I hate. I have to start with Russell Westbrook. I hate Russell Westbrook. People hype him up to the nth degree. The guy has proven time and time again that he can't be the best player on a championship-winning team. He's incredibly dominant. I'm not saying he's not. But let's be honest, you're never going to win an NBA title with him on the roster. That's just fact. That makes him overrated. But Westbrook clinched something that is simply incredible. Okay, it is. Give him all the credit in the world. For the 4th time in his career, he will average a triple-double. To put that in perspective, that had only been done once before. Before Westbrook did it in 16-17. Obviously, we all know who did it. Oscar Robertson, his second year in the NBA. He did it for the 61-62 Cincinnati Royals. I mean, it's simply incredible what Westbrook does on a nightly basis. He is an incredibly dominant player. There's no question. It's what makes him so infuriating. He absolutely takes over games, but you're never going to win with him. The Wizards are the 10th seed in the East right now. They're going to have to win 2 games to get into the playoffs. And if they get in the playoffs, they're going to be annihilated by either the Sixers or Nets. Russell Westbrook is a future Hall of Famer. He has an argument towards being one of the 5 best point guards in NBA history. He's not the best. I think that's Steph Curry. And I'd put Magic Johnson ahead of Westbrook. Maybe Westbrook is 3rd, but I would really need to think about it. That's just off the top of my head. It is incredible what Westbrook can do on a basketball court. Yesterday, he had 21 rebounds and 24 assists. He's 6'3", and he's grabbing 21 boards. The Pacers have Domantas Sabonis. He's 6'11". He should be grabbing those rebounds. He got out-rebounded by Westbrook. Look, you've got to be in awe of what Westbrook does on a nightly basis. He's a future Hall of Famer. There's no question about that. But it just bothers me that people hype him up to the nth degree. You can't win with him. The way that Westbrook plays isn't conducive to winning. He tries to do it all himself. There's a reason that he's only made the NBA Finals once with the help of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Serge Ibaka. I mean, this year with Bradley Beal, they're not sniffing the finals. With Westbrook as the Thunder's best player, they didn't even win a playoff series. That's a bad look for Westbrook. It just is. He's incredibly dominant, future Hall of Famer. But if I'm building a team from scratch, there are a lot of players that I want before Russell Westbrook. The second NBA thing that I need to talk about is the New York Knicks clinching their first winning season in 8 years. They have won 12 of their last 13. They're a game and a half up on the Hawks for home court advantage in the first round. They are the 4 seed. Gag me with a spoon. Look, in all seriousness, the Knicks are a scary team. I don't want to go up against them in the playoffs. As a Nets fan, I don't want to go up against a team with as great a defense as the Knicks. There's a part of me that would rather play the Bucks. The Nets proved on Sunday that they can hang with the Bucks. They only lost by 3 on Sunday without the services of James Harden. Harden's going to be back for the second round. The Nets are winning that series. But what's the one thing that can stop the Nets? A team with a great offense. A great defense. The Knicks scare me. Do I think the Nets will win that series? Yes, I do. But it's going to be really, really tough. I mean, those are going to be knockdown, grind 'em out games. In fact, I'll even go as far as to say that the Knicks will take a couple games. They'll make the Nets work. I don't foresee any blowouts. There are 3 teams that I really don't want to face in the Eastern Conference if I'm the Nets. I don't want to face the Sixers because they're an incredibly skilled team. I don't want to go up against the Heat because they have a really good defense. And I don't want to go up against the Knicks because they have a great defense. In fact, I'll even go as far to say that regardless of whether the Knicks get home court advantage or not, if they face the Hawks, the Heat, the Hornets, the Pacers, or the Wizards in the first round, the Knicks will win that series. They're a really good team. Tom Thibodeau is going to get a lot of Coach of the Year votes. He deserves a ton of credit for what he's done with this team. He shouldn't win Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year should go to Monty Williams, but I have no problem with Thibodeau being the runner-up. And you know what? If Tibbs gets Coach of the Year, I won't bang tables over it. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. There's only one thing that I want to talk about. The New York Rangers being eliminated from playoff contention. No. But it does pertain to that game. Tom Wilson doing his best impression of a UFC fighter. During a stoppage with a little over 12 minutes left in the second period, Tom Wilson committed some heinous actions. And I mean truly heinous. With Pavel Buchnevich pinned to the ice, Wilson punched him. Buchnevich was defenseless. And he punched him in the head. Then, Wilson grabbed Artemi Panarin by the hair and slammed him to the ice. If you haven't seen the clip, search it out. That has no place in the NHL, only in the UFC. Artemi Panarin is now out for the rest of the year. Tom Wilson is going to kill someone. This is not hyperbole. Tom Wilson is going to murder someone on the ice in front of tens of thousands of people. And you've got the Capitals loving it. That thing that they posted on Twitter and Instagram is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And to make matters worse, somehow, someway, Tom Wilson was only fined $5,000 by the NHL. $5,000! That's a lot to mere mortals like us. It's nothing to Wilson. The reality is this. Tom Wilson is a dirty hockey player. He makes Bob Probert look like Jay Pandolfo. The Islanders and Penguins brawl when the Penguins announcers were having their little digs at Trevor Gillies. Say those things to Wilson. It's more warranted to him. Tom Wilson could have killed 2 New York Rangers last night. A punch to the head on someone who's not expecting it? That can kill you. And you saw Panarin's head hit off the ice. Helmet or not, that can still cause a TBI. He had the Brett Seney hit, the Robert Thomas hit, the Sammy Blais hit, the Zach Aston Reese hit, the Oscar Sundqvist hit, the Brandon Carlo hit. This guy is a danger to everyone who steps on the ice. You've tried fining him. You've tried suspending him. It hasn't worked. It happens multiple times a year that Wilson nearly kills someone. What do we need? A death on the ice before someone gets a grip? Tom Wilson needs to be banned from the sport. Never let him play another game. This is not hyperbole. All the people who don't like fighting in hockey, they can point to Wilson and say this is why. This guy isn't a hockey player, he's an MMA fighter that just happens to know how to skate. That's it. $5,000 is all Wilson got. $2,500 per incident. Punching a defenseless Buchnevich and slamming Panarin onto the ice. Gary Bettman needs to get a grip. Donald Fehr needs to get a grip. The NHL's Department of Player Safety needs to get a grip. They need to ban Tom Wilson before someone seriously gets hurt. The man is going to kill someone. There's no class to Wilson. He has no redeeming factors. He is a disgusting excuse for a hockey player. He needs to go to the UFC or Bellator. Hell, go to the WWE. I'd say boxing, but you can't body slam people in boxing. Ban Tom Wilson from the sport. Please, before he kills someone. I didn't do this on purpose, but there are a couple deaths that I need to talk about. The first is the absolutely tragic death of Pete Lammons. He died on Thursday at the age of 77. He was fishing in a Major League Fishing tournament. He fell off his boat in the Sam Rayburn Reservoir in Texas and drowned to death. That is how Pete Lammons, the first really good Jets tight end, passed away. Lammons was an integral part of the 68 and 69 Jets. Yes, you know Don Maynard. Yes, you know George Sauer. But when those guys were covered, Namath went to Lammons. He was the safety net. I mean, Lammons caught a touchdown pass in the AFL championship game against the Raiders that gave the Jets the right to go to the Super Bowl against the Colts. It was a 20-yard pass from Namath that made it 20-13 Jets. It's really a pity. You ask younger Jets fans to name you some players on the 68 Jets, they wouldn't get Pete Lammons. Quiz them. Who was the starting tight end? They wouldn't be able to name Pete Lammons. They'd say Don Maynard. Hell, they'd say Matt Snell before they said Lammons. This guy made the AFL's equivalent of the Pro Bowl for the Jets in 1967. He had 45 catches for 515 yards and 2 touchdowns. In conversations of the best tight ends in Jets history, some people would say Mickey Schuler, others would say Jerome Barkham, maybe you'd get some Rich Castor. No one says Lammons. He has a great argument. He won a ring with the Jets. He was there in 68 and 69 when Gloucester Richardson happened. I mean, look, I'm not saying that Pete Lammons is the best tight end in Jets history. But I'll tell you, he deserves to be in the conversation. The second guy to talk about is Courtney Hall, who also died on Thursday at the age of 52. From the late 80s to mid-90s, Courtney Hall was one of the better centers in the NFL. He wasn't in the Bruce Matthews, Dermontti Dawson, Kent Hull, and Jesse Sapolu tier, but he was in the tier below that. Make no mistake about it. From 89 to 95, he started all but one game for the Chargers. He was there for the Bobby Ross playoff runs that the Chargers had. In 92, the Chargers won the wild card round against the Chiefs. Then they got blown out by the Dolphins. In 94, they won the AFC. No one remembers that. They beat the Dolphins in the divisional round. They beat the Steelers in the AFC title game. Then they went up against the Steve Young-led 49ers and got destroyed. That's who Young beat in the Super Bowl that he won as a starting quarterback. But still, they got to the game. They were the second best team in the NFL. No one remembers it. The year after that was a real letdown. The Chargers barely made the playoffs. They had a 9-7 record. They lost in the wild card round to the Colts, 35-20. But let me tell you, Hall was one of their best players. Was he as important as, say, Junior Seau or Stan Humphries? Probably not, but he was a very underrated part of those teams. Without a center like Hall, it's fair to wonder if the Chargers are as successful as they were in the early 90s. Hall made the 1989 All-Rookie team. He was an alternate for the Pro Bowl 4 times. He was a captain for the 94 Chargers. May Pete Lammons and Courtney Hall rest in peace. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that you can't make a racehorse out of a mule.